Hi, this is Barry Rice. I'm from Dublin, Ireland. You can hear more about my story in episode 47 of the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. But for now, check out this episode with Sean and Kyle. It's Bleeding Rabbit.
Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This is episode 100, and we are thrilled to be here. Sean, I really thought it would be easier by now. But it hasn't gotten easier. In 100 episodes, it's still like, are we going to make it to the next?
Right? No, I guess you're right. Some aspects maybe are easier, but it's certainly still a lot of work.
It reminds me of a quote, and I forget where, I think it's Greg LeMond. It's a derivative of another quote, but it says, he's a cyclist, and it says, it never gets easier. You just go faster. And, I feel like we're doing a little more and more with like just the way we do episodes and live shows and stuff like that, but it certainly hasn't gotten any easier.
Yeah, that's true. And it's certainly been a blast of a journey. So a quick thank you to you, our listener, for continuing to tune in, to comment, to follow us on social media. We are excited and always looking forward to releasing new episodes. And in fact, we're particularly thrilled about this one, not just because it's the milestone of 100, but also because of the interview we're about to play for you. Jeremy Cowart is a wildly talented individual who has built a reputation around his skills in photography and his heart for helping other people across the globe. In fact, Jeremy chronicles his personal journey and shares his get-it-done mindset in his book that he released last year, 2019, titled I'm Possible.
We've really been looking forward to sharing this interview with you, so we're going to jump right in, but a note for you, listen carefully for a chance to win Jeremy's book.
I am so excited right now. I'm like a total fanboy right now. Jeremy, we are so excited to have you on the show. Jeremy Cowart is here with us today. How's it going today, man?
It's going so well. I'm so honored to be here. I've been following you guys for a while, and I love that we finally get to do this.
Yeah, it's exciting, good stuff. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
This is episode 100, so you are our 100th episode. I would say probably our 50th interview, at least. And we've been so excited to share you and introduce you to our listeners for this particular episode.
Congrats to you guys for all your hard work. That's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, we're gonna retire after this.
And Sean, it's crazy that we still get along. Like,
yeah, right.
That's awesome.
I think we're just used to each other, so we put up with our differences. Yeah, like it doesn't matter. Jeremy, we know you're married. Would you say it's kind of that way? Like, I'm sure you and your wife you have a lot of differences. Do you just agree to disagree and move on?
Yeah, for the most part, we've surprisingly. I mean, we've been married 20 years now, and we've had a pretty good run. We get along for the most part, but we certainly have our days where we, get on each other's nerves. Probably me getting on her nerves more than the other way around. But yeah, we try to just keep moving.
that was a constant theme in your book. But it was incredible to see her support and just you guys figuring stuff out and being like, all right, let's do this. Let's be on the same team here and do as much as we can with this.
Absolutely, yeah. She's always supported my crazy ideas and encouraged me to jump along the way, and now I'm doing the same for her.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Jeremy, can you, for our listeners, give us a background on you?
Yeah, I live in Nashville. I'm from Nashville. I've been an artist of various kinds for a long time now. I was a graphic designer. I've been a painter. I've been a photographer for 15 years or so, and I'm now becoming a hotelier, trying to build a hotel. I'm just really professionally scatterbrained and ADD.
So
I love that.
To put it into perspective for our listeners, can you tell us a few of the people that you have photographed?
Yeah, Taylor Swift, Barack Obama, Sting, Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Emma Stone. There's a long list for sure.
Yeah, Sean Baumstark.
That's right.
Actually, not yet.
Not yet. It's gonna happen. Gonna happen.
Well, Jeremy, we got turned on to you, or informed about you last week, or we kind of stumbled upon who you are, and Kyle and I both got your book. I did a audio version and couldn't stop listening. Kyle got a hardcover or a physical copy and couldn't stop reading. And there was so much you covered in your book. We thought it might be kind of fun. We don't want to give it away to our listeners, or spend 20 minutes reading your book. But there were a couple things in your book that I was really moved on or moved with. And I think maybe we can touch on those things and maybe give our listeners a taste of what your book was all about. And I think your title might actually help give that away. It's titled "I'm Possible," and I assume that was a play on the word of impossible.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about that overall theme, or where the name came from, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Growing up, my dad would always, tell me the verse Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because I would say a lot that, I can't do this or I can't do that. I thought things were impossible. And so he was always trying to train me to think differently. And, impossible and being possible was always a theme of my life. So that just made a lot of sense to call the book that, I'm Possible.
You mentioned your dad and the way your parents constantly pushed you to believe in yourself and believe that anything is possible. And we talked about your wife, or we mentioned her, but you also have a handful of kids, don't you? How has your upbringing impacted maybe the way you parent?
Oh, for sure. It's impacted everything. I try to be as good a parent as my parents were to me, and just try to always encourage and love on my kids and be sure they know how much they're loved and how proud of them we are. And I'm always telling them Philippians 4:13 as well, trying to share the same message.
In your book, you go through quite a few stories of how you heard about things, you were really moved, and you took action. And my big takeaway from your book was just your ability to act on things. And I'm specifically thinking of, the story about you were photographing a concert and everyone said, don't get near the talent. Don't get near Sting, basically, right? But then you set up this this studio, makeshift little studio in a stairwell, and you said, "Hey, Sting, will you come shoot a photo with me for a second?" And I'm also so in the same sort of vein is, you heard about the earthquake in Haiti, and you saw these things going on. And you're like, I think I have an idea that could help people, and you bought a plane ticket like 2 days later or something like that. And so throughout your whole book, I think, through all these stories, it was what struck me was your ability to act on the thoughts you have and to really take action. So can you talk about that and maybe a couple of words of advice for people to be able to turn their thoughts into action?
Yeah, I'm definitely, an idea guy, and I think ideas are like working out. The more you try them and the more you listen for ideas, the more they come, and they tend to get bigger and bigger and hopefully better. And so, I'm always kind of weighing out which ideas are smart, which ones are worthy of pursuing. Sometimes I realize the ideas are awful and should not be pursued. But I'm always trying to figure out what's doable, what's financially viable, all that stuff. And so, with the Haiti idea, it just made sense. Like, I could see the whole project very clearly, and all I needed to do was to get to Haiti. And so, it wasn't too difficult to get rolling. It was difficult once I got into Haiti and to get the stories. But I always, share ideas with my wife or my close friends, and then I wait a little bit and see if, because sometimes ideas feel genius at first, but then you realize after a couple of weeks that maybe they're not so genius. And so then I'll often buy the domain names for projects, because we all know that we got to have the domain names for things we're doing. And then I just see if it's meant to be.
Are there any ideas, just out of curiosity, any ideas that maybe you had over the years and then decided, that's silly, and then regretted not pursuing that idea?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's weird. There's some products that are now, like, products I had ideas for that are now multi-million dollar products that I see even in Targets and Walmart's. I'm like, yep, I had that idea like 8 years ago. Like, for example, I had an idea for kind of like a foldable iPhone selfie light that's much bigger than your iPhone light for people to take really well lit selfies. Because I knew years ago when selfies became all the rage, I was like, oh man, there's going to be, people need better lighting for their selfies. And so I had this idea. And now there's all kind of selfie lights out there that sell like crazy. I'm like, I had that idea,
You know what? This train of thought actually lines well with another principle in your book, or actually something you wrote in your book that really struck me. And you said something to the effect of talent without audacity is a waste. So understanding that you can, or maybe deep down you can do stuff, but we sometimes limit ourselves because we're too afraid. We're not audacious enough to go after it. Can you talk to us a little bit about where that comes from for you? And of course, I think about your story of your first gig in Hollywood, or what I think is your first gig, and how you didn't, at least in your thought, you just didn't know what you were doing. But you challenged yourself to say yes, and you just figured it out as you went, and I think it paid off pretty well, yeah?
Yeah, that was a crazy thing. Yeah, 2005 is when I first started shooting, and my agent, I landed an agent that year, and she sent me out to to LA, and I was doing this big shoot for Fox and Prison Break, and next thing I know, I'm on this massive set. Had to light a big sound stage with 8 or 10 sets, and had all this gear that I had no idea how to use. But yeah, you just kind of go for it and put yourself in those places where you're super uncomfortable, but you got to figure it out.
I have a friend that constantly uses the phrase "build the plane as you're going down the runway." Like just figure it out as you go.
Yep. Yeah, and the same applies to now. We're on the journey of building this hotel, and we just keep learning as we build it. One day at a time.
I was just going to say, can you tell our listeners a little about the Purpose Hotel for those who don't know about it?
Absolutely. And gosh, let's see, April of 2012, I was in Los Angeles and doing a photo shoot, and I was in a hotel, and this idea hit me for a global hotel chain where everything in the building would connect to various causes and nonprofits, and it hit me like a brick, and the name hit me, the Purpose Hotel, the tagline, which has changed the world in your sleep, hit me, and all the little micro ideas for the hotel, it all hit me at once, and I was so kind of blown away by the idea, but also extremely intimidated, so much so that I kind of ignored it for a long time to come. 3 years, I said no, and I didn't do anything about it. But every day I would keep thinking about it, and I knew it was the right idea. So in 2015, my business partner and I, we started going for it, and I knew it was the right time to pursue it. And so here we are, 4 or 5 years later. We hope to break ground later this year, early next, and go from there.
We will get back to our interview in just a moment. But for now, we wanted to celebrate episode 100 by giving away 5 copies of Jeremy's book. For a chance to win, all you have to do is share your own story of achieving or accomplishing something you once thought was impossible. Using Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, you must tag at Jeremy Cowart, the 2 Disabled Dudes, and include the hashtag possible book in your post. But hurry, you must enter by March 15th, 2020.
So I want to let our listeners know what turned us your way, how we got connected. We know that you've had a phenomenal run of, ups and downs, but your book and even just chatting with you now, it just sounds like you've had phenomenal ups and lots of cool stuff taking place in your career. I want to know, or I want you to share with our listeners what you experienced last year or a little bit more in terms of your personal health journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had weird health symptoms for a long time now, and the main one has been my balance. I was really athletic in high school and college, and I played high school basketball. I could dunk a basketball. I played college volleyball, and so I was always into sports. And but throughout my 20s and then throughout my 30s especially, I started getting really uncoordinated, and I thought it was just like age hitting really fast, and I would just I'd just laugh it off and say I'm a klutz, and I never really thought too much about it. But it kept getting worse year over year, and so finally, when I was 41 last year, it got so bad that I was like, this isn't funny anymore. It was no longer a joke, and so so I was like, I need to get checked out. So I actually one night was on Twitter, and I started tweeting about my symptoms. And some girl, I wish I could find the tweet, but some girl responded, and she said, you should look up gluten ataxia. And as I started reading about that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like reading my journals. This is me to a T. And so that's when I discovered. And so for a minute, I thought it was gluten ataxia. And then I've since come to find out I got, blood testing done at Vanderbilt and all that, and found out I had Friedreich's ataxia, FA. And so it was pretty shocking, but also not surprising, because the symptoms, really made sense and was perfectly aligned to all the symptoms of FA. Like my speech has certainly started to slur more, and words come out slower and things like that. My walking, I can't walk in a straight line, and I bump into walls a lot, and especially when I get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I look like I'm drunker than I've ever been in my life, or I'm stumbling all the way to the bathroom.
We know how that feels.
Yeah, I know you do. So anyway, yeah, it was kind of good to get the diagnosis, because a lot of my life made sense at that point,
It's crazy how it can be so devastating and so relieving at the same time, well, all the implications for your life, but then there's this feeling of, oh my gosh, I finally know what the heck is wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think my wife felt the same way too. We finally had answers to look at.
How has this, or if at all, has the diagnosis altered at all what you're working on, or how you're moving forward in your career choices or home life?
So far it's not affecting my career in any way. I mean, I definitely could foresee that, obviously. Like this year I might be doing some world travels as a photographer, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to actually do that, And so certainly, like when I hold up a camera to my eye, my balance is certainly worse.
Sure.
And so I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'll affect the hotel journey too much, because the hotel for me is just all meetings. So
yeah,
I can do meetings all day long. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, it affects the biggest way it affects my life is my role as a father, because my kids want me to do a lot of stuff that sadly I can't do. I can't really play basketball that well or tennis that well, or, I'm like a 70-year-old or 80-year-old, out there trying to play sports, because my body just doesn't move as quickly as I like it to.
Yeah.
It should maybe just buy all your kids a camera and hope they fall in love with the camera, so you can,
there you go.
You can do that stuff together.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What strikes me is, the way you talked about your father was that he had this Bible verse, and he really instilled a thought into you. And, as our disease affects our physical abilities, it does not change who we are. And it doesn't change what you can teach your kids, which seems to be the more important thing, right? Like, you didn't talk about your father playing basketball with you or whatever. You talked about an idea that he gave you that made you a better person. And, that's kind of what I think of, of FA and the way it affects our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to just be a good example, and I don't think my kids, even though I've explained it to them, I don't think they really get how serious it is.
Sure.
They tend to laugh it off, or I don't know. Like, yo, this is a for real. Like, they'll trip me on purpose, and I'm like, guys, you could seriously injure me. Like,
Not
I
cool.
could go to the hospital. Like,
Yeah.
do not trip me. And they laugh, and I'm like, guys, like, for real, this is a legitimate thing, And so,
I have yeah, that's. I mean, hopefully you're still stable enough to maybe land on your hands if you were to fall down.
yeah.
Hearing
It-
you. Oh, go ahead.
Depends on the day. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes I recover, and they don't do it too often. And they're not like mean. They just, my son is. He loves to prank everybody. He's always scaring us or tripping somebody, or he's a really, really good kid, but he's a goofball for sure.
I guess maybe to be fair to your kids, what's the age range?
See, Adler, the one I'm referring to, he's 14. Isley is 12. Eli is 9, and Ebby is 8. So I have 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 biological, and 2 adopted.
So I feel like that's a pretty fair expectation. At 14, you're pranking everybody you meet. Like that's fine.
For sure. Absolutely.
I have a friend of mine at work who loves to scare people. And one day I'd walked into the office and it was dark. And I thought I was alone. And she literally, the area under a desk where your chair would be, she hid in there and jumped out at me. And of course, living with the FA, your balance, your ability to react in the moment is all suffering. So she got me good, and I'm pretty sure I made her cry when I was like, you can't do that. that was too far.
You mentioned Vanderbilt. Have you gone anywhere else to find an expert about FA yet?
No, I'd like to. In fact, I'd love to do a whole interview with y'all. I mean, there's so much, insight that I need to gain from others. I've certainly heard of a guy up in Philadelphia that I need to go see. But yeah, I haven't seen anyone other than my doctor at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Not personally, I think that's, I think that there are 2 spectrums. Some people maybe are up against a diagnosis of anything, and they can't stop. I don't want to say obsessing over it, but it's like night and day. Like they just keep digging into it. And then maybe the other side of the spectrum is, okay, cool, I have a name for it, but I'm still a dad. I'm still, I still have a career, and I still have a wife, and I still have all these things that I'm doing. So I'm going to keep working on them until I absolutely need to or want to, or maybe opportunity presents itself to dig in a little more. And just watching your journey over the last year or so, I feel like I'm inspired by your journey, Jeremy, because even though you were diagnosed with this disease, you're still just doing what you know. You're still pursuing all your stuff, and that's encouraging for me because I think I live with the same mantra. Like, sure, it's a hardship and a challenge, and maybe some things will change down the road. But while I can do what I can do, I'm gonna do it. I don't know if that makes sense or if I just said the word "do" way too many times. But I think hopefully you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't, when I start obsessing about it too much and thinking about it too much, I start getting really sad and heavy. And when I just keep going and keep doing what I want to be doing, I certainly am in a better place, all the way around. And so, yeah, at the same time, though, I can overwork and not take care of myself. And so there's definitely a balance where I've got to It's got to be both. It's got to be stay focused on my work and getting stuff done, but also keep taking care of myself. And like for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I really have fallen off the chains again in terms of, when I eat really clean and when I exercise daily, I just feel 100% better.
Yeah.
But I don't always do that. Let's be honest. Oddly enough, Sean, in the audiobook that you listened to, I don't know if you could hear or not, but kind of in the first half of the book, I was, actually, I think we recorded the whole book with my speech slurring a good bit. In fact, I actually spoke an intro where I said, "Hey, all, sorry, I'm fighting some health issues. You'll hear me slurring a lot through this book. And I have a disease, blah, 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 blah." And for some reason, the publisher would not let me include that, so we had to cut it. But
oh, wow.
So anyway, we recorded the book, and then I came back like a month later to do some fixes on the audiobook. And during that month, I had done a juice cleanse and only had juice for like 2 weeks. And my speech was perfect. And so the corrections we did, like there are moments in the book where I'm speaking insanely fast and clearly with no slurs. And that was the corrections we did where I did a juice cleanse. There's a super big difference in speech. And like you said, my skin, I suddenly looked a lot younger. Like
nice.
I can just tell when I'm eating bad and my eyes get all puffy. And, I look so tired all the time. And then I would also say that my scatterbrain, my ADD, like went away also during that time. Like I was thinking I could focus a lot better. Like the brain fog was gone. So yeah, it's just talking about it is like sitting here inspiring me. Like, okay, I gotta do this again.
Yeah, like great. And when we hang up, I'm gonna go to the farmer's market and get fresh produce.
No doubt. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, an incredible conversation. I could probably hang out with you all day on the phone, or maybe go have a cup of coffee or whatever if we were in the same city. But obviously, we all probably have things to do, so we should probably let you go pretty soon. Will you tell our listeners where to find you, your book, what you're working on? Where do we follow your journey?
Sure. I'm just at Jeremy Cowart on all the social networks, jeremycowart.com. thepurposehotel.com is the hotel journey. I think that's about it. The book is possiblebook.com if people want to check that out.
Thanks for helping us get to episode 100. Jeremy is amazing. I love his thoughts about ideas and how they develop. He's definitely a guy who puts his ideas into action.
Yeah, that was a really fun interview, and we have linked all of Jeremy's stuff in our show notes, so you can easily find him there. Be sure to check him out. It is time for us to share some thank you notes. Gratitude has the power to change our mindset, so Kyle and I are making it a point to express one thank you note every week on our episodes.
My thank you note this week is to Lee Mitchell, and he was our mentor on Race Across America. When we met him, he had been crewing Ram for 20 years, and he instilled a lot of his wisdom and just know-how into us. There was a lot of details, and he taught us how to get it done. Lee is no longer with us. I miss him a lot, and I think about him a lot, but I think it's important to express gratitude. Even though Lee can't physically receive this gratitude, I still want to express it. Lee Mitchell, Thank you for guiding us through the how-tos of Race Across America. With your infinite knowledge and wisdom, you generously gave your time and energy to help us succeed, as you did so many others. You taught us that the most valuable thing is to remain friends through it all.
And thankfully, we have remained friends.
That's a tribute to Lee.
My thank you note is to Chavez, actually, my barber. He recently relocated. He's in a really old building downtown, and there is no elevator. And it's exempt from ADA regulations. So,
Wow.
this is to Chavez, my barber. Thank you for letting me crash your Saturday night plans by squeezing me in for a last-minute cut. I'm grateful for your willingness to make it happen and wrestle with my wheelchair and the stairs in the process. Thank you for the fresh fade, my friend.
Nice. How'd you find that place if it's down a bunch of stairs?
Well, I've been with him for like 5 years, so I just go wherever he goes, and he relocated because it's better for him, and he hit me up and he's like, hey, I'm moving. What do you think about this? Because he knows right now I'm still using wheelchair, so.
Well, that's cool that he just makes it happen.
Yeah, he's making it work.
Good.
So thank you for listening. Be sure to enter for a chance to win Jeremy's book.
Until next time, keep living with urgency. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisabled.com and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Special thanks to our friend and audio producer, Jake Tompkins.